For the 2 years that I've been at Proof, every October we've been making these pumpkin-shaped sourdough loaves, and they're a huge hit. We were kind of talking amongst ourselves about whether we would be doing it again this year, just because we're already really busy as it is, trying to prepare for the grand opening, get ourselves situated. We're producing more now than we ever have. And in the grand scheme of things, while we do enjoy doing them, it just seems like a very low priority. It's not an essential item that we have. And so I had brought up the idea to John and Amanda to have it be our first go at doing workshops in here. Because I think that would be a lot of fun for people to do. It's relatively easy to do, it just takes up a lot of time on our end, and we couldn't see ourselves justifying the amount of time that it takes to make these. And so we thought, maybe people would want to come in and do it themselves. It seems like a fun activity for a couple or parents with their kids to do. Nice fall themed, and it gives us a chance to get our feet wet with having classes. We weren't initially planning on doing anything like that until, I believe, early next year. But I think it'll be a really nice chance for us to kind of see what it's like and see what the workshops are actually like in practice, and give a chance to give the people what they want, and what they want are pumpkin-shaped loaves. So right now I'm setting up the twine on the board. I've got 3 pieces here, and I'm trying to get them laid out into fairly even segments. The more that I do that now, the easier it'll be in the end. Trying to go for some nice symmetry here. I've got our centerpiece sourdough. It's just a big sourdough loaf. It's about 2.5 times the size by weight of our traditional sourdough loaves. Aptly called centerpieces because we like to have them be the centerpiece of someone's dinner table. So now I'm just going to take opposing ends of the twine. You like them to be a little snug, but not too much. You still want to give some room for the dough to expand without tearing the bread apart, while still having nice clear segments to look like a pumpkin. And so the twine will stay in place as the bread expands, and these little segments that I'm forming here will end up looking pretty dramatic at the end, and it looks like a little pumpkin. People loved these last year. They were a big hit all through October and November. We did them through Thanksgiving, I believe. So this is all that's really necessary to get the pumpkin shape, but as always, I like to add a little bit of decorative flair. Do some wheat stalks. You don't need to do any kind of functional scoring for these, but there's so much real estate here. It would be a shame to let it go to waste. I would imagine when we do the classes, we would have people put some sort of unique identifier on the loaf, so it's easy to determine whose is whose, and plus I think it's kind of fun. But if someone is not comfortable or possibly old enough to responsibly wield a blade, then I would be happy to guide them through it or do it for them. So we are going to be making a handful of these per market this weekend as a promotion for these loaves. We've been getting a ton of comments from people begging us for them, and so hopefully this will give them a little taste of what's to come. And so these ones will be for sale, very limited amounts, but anyone who happens to be able to see one and grab it, I'm sure will be pleasantly surprised. And we're planning on having 3 classes, I believe, the day of our grand opening, right here at this workbench, as John has mentioned a few times by now, I'm sure. So it's exciting. Ever since John had presented the idea to me of doing workshops, I've always been excited for that. Between me and Amanda, we tend to be the ones who train other employees here how to do scoring. So I've gotten some experience on really how to instruct people there. But it'll be nice to, but I'm also talking to other bakers. So there's generally a kind of level of understanding there, and I'll just kind of have to adapt as I go to see what I need to modify in my instructions when it comes to maybe people who've never baked bread in their life. So we'll see about that. This is fairly even. Pumpkins are not perfectly symmetrical. I like the ones that are like funky looking, the ones that are ugly and have like the bumps and the moles and stuff. I like those. They're spooky. They bake with the twine, and then while the loaf is still hot, you have to remove the twine, and then we finish it off by adding a cinnamon stick in the center for the stem. I promise you, it's very cute. I quite enjoy them myself, but when it comes down to making possibly hundreds at a time, my enjoyment steadily declines as the day goes on. All right, I got 2 pumpkins whenever you're ready.
I'm going to give these pumpkins just plenty of space in the oven and a whole side to themselves. So here go the pumpkins. Sourdough pumpkins. Poke them with the cinnamon sticks.
I have not found cinnamon sticks. I'm not sure if they made it over here or not, but I will detwine them. If you do not have baker's fingers that are desensitized to heat, I do not recommend doing this without some sort of glove, but I am very used to it by now. So I went a bit too deep or a bit too tight with these pieces of twine. As you can see, they both, if you don't give the loaf enough room to expand with these, like with scoring, it'll find a way on its own. And so both of these have one pumpkin segment that have burst open a little bit. But it's my first set of pumpkin loaves in over a year. So
Also, that might have been the right tension in the old environment.
It was also a different recipe back then. We have different flour blends now. So, as always, there's a number of factors. Good for me to keep in mind for next time. Once I find where our cinnamon sticks are, we will just shove one directly into the center to act as a little decorative stem. And that was also something we had to experiment a lot with. The first rendition of these, we were baking with the cinnamon stick in, and then we had to secure it in place with the twine. That was iteration 1. I believe there was 4 different rounds of experimentation with that. By the end, we were finding with the cinnamon stick in the middle, it was harder to get the middle fully cooked. And so, and we found that they stay and look just as well, if not better, if you just place it in the end, because then you can also make sure it's upright and not askew in a weird way, or sometimes the bread would just completely reject it, and then we would have to go fishing for a cinnamon stick in the back of the oven. Not the most fun, but here they are. They look pretty nice.